This is the Being Your Own CEO Success Circle. And this morning we're going to look at Gutenberg for WordPress again for the second time. My name is Loan, and in my coaching and consulting work, I help solopreneurs stay focused and motivated as we take their business to the next level using some simple structures and some pretty easy technology. So we'll be right back right after this. Well, greetings wherever you are, and welcome to Being Your Own CEO. This weekly success circle is intended as a support for solopreneurs. We get together because we really enjoy each other's company. We love exchanging information. We do a bit of experimentation, and we all give and receive support. You can discover what we stand for by reviewing our operating principles, which are on my website page where we're live streaming this. I want to welcome our viewers at this time and invite them to add their comments to the comments over on the right-hand side. Tell us where you are and what you do, and we would love to know that you're there. And so now it's time for the members in the green room or the panel, depending on what your understanding is. I guess that green room information was kind of more something that we used years ago with Hangouts, but it seems to stick for me. I don't know why. So let's see, who shall we get to introduce themselves? Well, Alana, you were first one here this morning, so catch your breath and introduce yourself, please.
Okay. Greetings, everyone. My name is Alana Birmingham, coming to you from Ireland, and it is 5:05 in the evening here, Greenwich Mean Time. I am a virtual assistant, and I also have a website called emptynesterblog.com, where I help empty nesters create their own online income. Thank you very much.
Happy to have you here.
Thank you very much.
It is so neat to have people from all over the world. So, let's see, who was next? Nathan, I think you were.
Okay, guilty as charged. Yeah, my name is Nathan Siegel. I'm currently in Ensenada, Baja California, Mexico. My major gig for the last number of years has been freelance writing, and I'm working on a major project right now. It's a book that I'm putting together, what do they call it, an anthology of stories. The title is Mind Hacks, How to Create Lasting Positive Change in 5 minutes a day. And what I'm looking for are sponsors. And it's something I know nothing about. I've never done it before. I've financed everything I did in the past, but this time around I need help. So reaching out, looking for information in whatever form it can come to me. So thank you.
Right on. So I've been noticing some of your posts. I think mostly in Facebook. I think I've seen them. Yeah.
Yeah, I've done a few over the last few days. I mean, there
Mm-hmm.
was, I had a conversation with a guy on Facebook. It sparked an idea, and I posted about it in a couple of different groups. And I wound up with something like 100 different responses and likes over a couple of days. And it just blew my socks off because I didn't think anybody had any interest in the topic. And so I
Oh.
wound up doing a few videos afterwards, and it just surprised me a lot.
Mm. Well, you can never tell.
No, you can't.
Welcome here, as usual, Nathan.
Thank you, Lola.
Okay, let's see. Bill, how would you like to introduce yourself?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Bill Graham. I'm coming to you from Belize for my final 9 days before I move back to Canada. I'm going to be providing tech today and bringing in people's comments. So I hope if you're out there, please sign in, let us know you're there, ask questions. I mean, MaAnna is somebody that you won't find anybody better to answer your questions on this topic. So please reach out to her. And while I'm doing this, if you don't mind, I just want to share screen.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if you're seeing the comments or not, but Lon
Yes.
MacLeod joined us for a minute. He said, MaAnna is awesome. Sadly stuck at the doctor's office for a while. I'll have to catch the replay. So thank you, Lon, for joining us, and hello in the replay.
Right. Hello, Lon. Oh, that's cool. And thank you for that test, Bill. Really appreciate that. Fred, I think you came in pretty early. So what's new with you this morning?
Well, I've moved again. I'm in Souk
Oh, really?
this time. Yes. And I don't know how much longer, but maybe I'll be here next week. I'm not sure. The people whose cat is going around crazy climbed on my computer. So if I disappear, he might switch my computer off. He's very active this morning. But
Now let's because we have a few people here that wouldn't know where Souk is. Souk is I'm hosting here from Vancouver Island, Canada, and Vancouver Island, Victoria is the capital city of British Columbia, and Souk is a small city. About 1 hour's drive from Victoria, Fred?
yeah, it's about 35,
Yeah.
37 kilometers away, something like that.
Yeah, so it's west along the number one, and then cuts off. There's a turn off to Souk. Yeah.
It's a beautiful little town that has a wonderful place to walk called Whiff and Spit.
Yeah.
So.
That cracks me up every single time I hear it. It's like take a whiff and spit.
No, but a spit is something different.
I know. I can't help it. It's just one of those things. Like every time I hear that, it just cracks me up. Who created this silly name?
I don't know, but it's just a lovely place to walk, because you get the sea breeze, and you got the sea on both sides of you as you're walking out this spit. It's wonderful. Oh dear. So Fred, tell us, remind us what you do.
All right, I'm Fred Jones, and I'm the creator of Our Future Leaders, which is sort of a cutting-edge online group coaching for young people. They range from the ages normally from 8 to 16 years old, and helps them with their communication and leadership skills, and really boosts their self-confidence. And this helps them because we need some good leaders in the world, and that's the objective of Our Future Leaders, get some young people going. And just seeing what the young people at Parkland did in Florida, about the anti-guns, that's a great example of what I just wrote a blog post about Youthquake. That was the word of the year, 2017. And Youthquake is a word that I think we're going to see more when the young people are impacting what's going on in the world. So that's Youthquake. So I'm trying to promote them and help them with their Youthquake.
Wonderful. Just by way of interest, my choir sang at an event here recently that was all about signing a treaty for banning nuclear weapons. And two young teenage women have started up an organization for youth that are getting very much involved in this whole ban nuclear weapons. So, and they stood up in front of this big, huge audience and talked about what they believe in and what they want to do. We were just blown away by how articulate they were, and their courage for standing up for what they believe in and so forth. So there's a group I might try and point you to, Fred. It's local.
Yeah. Well, the Generation Z or Generation Z, however you pronounce it, is really an interesting generation.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Because they are so knowledgeable and so aware, mainly because of the internet, and they've grown up where no other generation has had the access to information like they have. They are extremely knowledgeable, mm-hmm. and realize that they have an impact. So yeah, it's wonderful to work with them.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's great. It's great work you're doing, Fred. Thank you for doing it. Now, let's see. Oh, Jay, I thought you weren't coming. There you are. How would you like to introduce yourself?
I was just merely disgruntled by all the notifications I was getting. You were spamming me with your notifications. So it was my protest. No! But I'm glad that I'm here. And I'm glad that MaAnna's here. I haven't seen her in many moons, so it's great to see you. And I'm sorry that you had to hear the word whiff and spit during our live broadcast. And we know the level of humor that Nathan enjoys, so I'm going to remember that, pocket that, and have that as an arsenal somewhere down the road. Hello, my name is Jay.
I have a serious weakness for puns. I can't
I gathered that. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the whiff and spit thing came from an ex-girlfriend. She told me that. That's how I always remember it. Take a whiff and spit.
Well, speaking of spit, I'd like to spit out my name, which is Jay, and my company is MaAnna Studios, and we help people get started in the world of online marketing through coach consulting and training. Hailing from beautiful, sunny Langford, British Columbia, which is I guess we can call it a suburb of Victoria, British Columbia. I guess you could say it's in between Souk and Victoria.
I always think it's interesting how Canadians have to look out the window because it may have changed in the last 10 minutes.
Oh, you know, Victoria's weather is famous. You either wait 10 minutes or walk 10 blocks, and it changes.
Right.
So, and before I forget, Fred, I actually have a client who perhaps you should meet. He is a former police officer, and he is now an executive coach, and he's actually interested in building a course, an online course for youngsters on becoming leaders and whatnot. So maybe the two of you can connect. He's an awesome fella. Like I said, he's a retired police officer. He used to be a sniper on the task team, and he was on the dive team as well. So he's a he's a real go-getter. So and I'm scared when I don't have my homework turned in on my weekly assignments. So
you're gonna get whipped.
I know, yeah. So yeah, he's gonna strong arm me and interrogate me. So in my office. At any rate, yeah. So reach out to me however you can, and I'll share the details with you.
Perfect. So, by the way, the reason you got spammed is that it was a goof on my part with my my chipmunk. And it all happened because somebody asked me to change their email address. And I went in there and did that. And all of a sudden, Google just went berserk, and so that's why you got that. But Vivek and I finally figured out what the problem was and solved the problem. So I do apologize.
No worries. It was only 18 messages. So.
Okay.
18 messages? Holy.
Yeah, we won't go any further. Just suffice it to say that I have Vivek created what would you call that? A process for me using Google spreadsheets and Google Forms, etc., and that sends out my notifications that will go to people who sign up. Will go to their camera and their emails or their emails, depending on how they get their notifications done. So,
and Jay, you just know how important your presence is when you get 18 notifications.
Yeah, right.
To show up.
I was going to say, you wanted him here bad.
Oh dear. Anyway, MaAnna, you can see we do have a little bit of fun here. So I'm looking at my Zoom thing. I think I have everybody who is here, and I purposely left you to the end so that you could shamelessly introduce yourself, and then I'll start our discussion.
Well, thank you very much, and I'm thrilled to be here for this party. Y'all are a lot of fun. And I'm most definitely the Southerner in the group. I'm in Tennessee, just north of Nashville right now. And I don't have quite as hard an accent as over on the East Coast, going that way into the mountains, or the soft Georgian accent, sugar. But so I'm kind of in the middle of that. But yeah, I help people with their websites, DIY site owners and webmasters, designers and developers, and to have better websites that are fast and secure and make them money. So, and are candy to both Google and readers. So it's site success all the way around. And I teach the non-sizzle part of it. You hear a lot of gurus say, make all this money, do this little thing in 5 minutes, you'll have it. Now I teach the real world stuff and the things so you don't get ripped off, $2,000 or $3,000 later. Most people find me after they've been to the school of hard knocks and they wake up and say, wow, I might need to know what I'm doing. Really, and that's when they find me.
Well, I found you a long time ago. You've been here with us once before. Must be a couple of years ago now.
I think so.
Yeah. So, and it's interesting that you would bring up your accent, because people often sort of draw attention to mine, because even though I live on the West Coast, I am from the East Coast of Canada, and some people hear that accent. So welcome here. And just by way of introduction, last week we decided to just kind of open the topic of Gutenberg. What is it, and what's coming up, and what do we need to know, and all of that. And through that discussion, we all realized that we touched on a number of things that we know we need to pay attention to, but I think we all felt as though we needed some expert help on really. So last time I would say we were kind of it was kind of more informational, and today I hope that we're going to be a little bit more practical and talk about how to prepare, what exactly it is we need to do to prepare. MaAnna suggested a number of things that perhaps we need to kind of touch on. And the other thing is, you didn't mention this, MaAnna, but the thing that I've always been really impressed with is the fact that you do site audits for people. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a wonderful service. So
And
I,
much needed these days too.
yeah, I am, and I mean, I have a really old site I've had it for years, and there's a lot of stuff on there. And I was thinking about one of the things we said last week. Well, we need to be looking at all these plugins that we're using. Are they going to be compatible? Do we still need them? There's a whole lot of things. So I just think your service will be really important for a lot of people. So
Thank you. Yeah, we're at that spot now where you kind of have to, and you can't get away with being an ignorant site owner anymore if you're going to DIY it yourself. The days of being able to just throw up a site any kind of way, throw all the plugins you wanted at it, have unlimited sites on unlimited hosting with no security, not worry about those days are long gone. So if you want to be a success and not get hacked or ripped off or com- just even to compete now, because the markets are so saturated and all the niches are so saturated, and you've got to know what you're doing to be able to get ahead and compete if you're going to get anywhere.
hmm yeah.
We have actually we have an unprecedented opportunity for people who are willing to be educated and do the new stuff to zoom right by the more established people who are not keeping up. So, all I can say is if you're serious about making money and having your website be your business partner in any kind of way, no matter kind of what kind of website you use, you have an opportunity right now that is absolutely golden, like the people did who started back in 2011, 2013, who are now the gurus of everything and have been making six figures for so long. You have the opportunity to zoom right past them if you get on the ball and get educated and do a few things.
Well, that's why we're all here
Yeah.
discussing what we're discussing. so, you listed a number of things that you thought were really important. So, what about this PHP 7 thing?
Right.
Let's
Okay.
talk about
This is
that first.
Yeah, this is there are several non-optional things that you need to get off your plate before you even think about worrying about Gutenberg. Gutenberg is actually a 2020 thing. It's not going to come into extreme play until we get closer to 2020. We do need to be aware of it and we are going to talk about it, but there are lots of other things that are extremely important that you really need to be focused on now. And I'll tell you a little later why you can kind of push Gutenberg off and what to start monitoring with it
Mm,
and where we're going to be going, how we're going to be stepping into this, and why it's an absolute game changer, complete game changer. So you do want to get on that boat, but you want to pack your bags first, and get some other things taken care of.
aha.
PHP is the language that WordPress, your themes, and your plugins is written in right
hmm
now. That's what WordPress mainly is based on. That's changing. It's going to be all JavaScript, and that's the way everything is going. And we're going to have a mix of the two in greater levels. We already have JavaScript, but it's going to become the basis of things as we keep going down the road. So there's a lot of back end stuff that's happening too. But all coding languages have versions. And after a while, old ones aren't supported anymore. And that's what's happened with PHP. Not something we've even had to worry about until 2 years ago when they started making dramatic changes to it. So, what they've been doing is we got up to version 5.6 and they just kept plopping new things into it instead of going up to version 6. And then they had to make a radical switch and go to 7. That's the short story behind why we skipped version 6. Okay. And so 5.6 is okay. Anything below that, totally unsupported and has now become a security issue. So WordPress, host, everybody that has anything to do with the coding language is trying to encourage us to go up to the latest supported version because there's huge speed boost and security boost in doing this. So they're all pressing really hard. WordPress is pressing super hard on plugin developers to become PHP 7 compatible. Most hosts now, when you get a brand new account, it's PHP 7.1. 7.2 is already available. 7.0 has dropped support already. So, I mean, this is marching fast now. Just getting people up to 7.0 was last year. That was a big challenge I ran in May to see if your plugins are compatible. I got posts, so you can do this yourself. The problem with the compatibility checkers is they're not 100% and they will false flag on some things. So you even on things like Genesis, because the Genesis theme framework, because they have code that's compatible to the older version. And that compatibility checker says, oh, there's code in there for an older version. It freaks it out a little bit. So you'll get some false flags on things like that. But you definitely get another speed boost, even jumping from 7.0 to 7.2. So, and speed is going to become an SEO ranking factor in July. And look, it already is a factor. Google's just officially making it an SEO factor. So, and that's the other thing that you need to start worrying about. So I'll finish up here with PHP, and then we can talk about speed.
Maybe we could, once you finish, we could just see if there are any questions about that before we move on.
PHP 7 is something that you can flip at your host. It's a good idea to run a compatibility checker. Run that thing overnight. There's one plugin, it's PHP 7 or PHP compatibility checker. It's made by WP Engine. The nice folks there made that free to all of us. Some hosts have their own PHP checker. Run it overnight when your traffic is slow, because it's a hog on your site and you don't want to be running it at major traffic times. And you can go read the report the next day. And of course, be sure to delete the plugin when you're through with it. But there will be false flags on it as well. The last thing is, if nothing else, go to your host and flip the switch. Go check your site and see if anything breaks. You can even forget the compatibility checker. Just go flip the switch and see what happens. And do go all the way up to 7.2 if you can. Now, if you can't, go to 7.1. 7.2 deprecated some major functions. There's a huge difference between 7.1 and 7.2. Not as big a difference between 7.0 and 7.1. But we're in this goofy place now where plugin developers, as they become compatible, some are compatible with 7, some are compatible with 7.1, some are compatible with 7.2. It's going to be wild for a little while until we get everybody at least up to 7. So,
all right. Who's got a question for MaAnna about PHP?
Jay?
It's more of a comment. I concur with everything that MaAnna is saying, because I actually recently switched hosts, and the former host was doing a legacy of PHP 5.6 unless I manually added it myself to 7.1 or 7. And so I was tired of that. So I switched hosts, which, they're cutting edge hosts and they're on solid state drives. And ever since switching to PHP 7.1 and 7.2 on various sites, along with the solid state drives, these sites have been blazing fast, and rankings have actually gone up, whereas I haven't done anything extracurricular in terms of the rankings. So, so I totally concur with how page speed is a ranking factor, and the speed, the inherent speed of PHP 7 and up. It's an awesome programming language, and it's great to have conversations like, we might end up speaking geek here back and forth. Yeah. Maybe throw in some orc and Star Trek language here and there. Who knows, right? Who knows where it'll take us? But
I actually mentioned Star Trek in my weekly post today. I had a reason to do that today.
There you go.
So, you should say that.
Yeah. So, you do know that 7.2 has dilithium crystals in it, so that's
right.
So fast.
There is an extra speed boost. Unless you do extreme testing like I do, and if you use Pingdom or something, you're never going to see this because it's not accurate enough for it. But you have to do some pretty extreme testing to be able to see that speed bump. But there is one.
See, now there's a piece of information that I was aware that they were recommending, upgrading or moving up, but I this is the first time that I've heard that it has a speed and security and all these other things. So
Well,
it's really
it's not only that, it's with if you don't do it, then it's very likely you're going to do a plugin. Someday you're going to do a plugin update and get the white screen of death because it has to be 7.1 or 7.2 compatibility only. So a lot of developers are just completely dropping support for anything below 7.0. And actually, the plugin developer community is calling for that to force people in to do the 7.0. And they may get upset. The plugin devs are kind of like, yeah, but they're going to be upset with me if my plugin is the one that broke it. And the whole plugin developer community is saying, so what? Take the hit. We've got to move people up. Even Yoast SEO had because he's got millions and millions of downloads on his plugin and whatever, even had a notice at the top said you're not at the highest level of PHP. A lot of site hosting and whatever, they're sending out emails saying you're not on the highest level, and they're going to force people to upgrade at some point because of the security, if nothing else, and because plugin developers can't keep updating for something that WordPress doesn't even support. Nobody supports. Right. And they're all dropping it. So it's kind of a do or die. You've got to do it, or you're going to have a broken site at some point.
Which none of us want, absolutely.
You can prevent. And I've been screaming about it for a year and a half. So you're way behind if you haven't done it yet. And
that's
prevention.
But unfortunately, there are a lot of people out there, not necessarily only do-it-yourselfers, but people who, they got somebody to create something for them a long time ago and they don't do anything. And I mean, they're the ones that are going to suffer because they're not staying on top of. And if you ask them what PHP is, they wouldn't have any idea.
Most of us don't. It's something we haven't ever had to worry about, ever. In the whole time we've owned WordPress, since WordPress has been around, this is not something any site owners ever had to worry about. So, I'll tell you what's going to bother me is for all of and I'm going to call it what it is, ignorant hands-off site owners. They have no education in it. They just think it runs like it did back in 2009 when they set it up and whatever. Have done no education, no keeping up, and no even hiring a VA to do anything about it to keep up. And they're going to blame their host because a lot of people think their host should help them with their site stuff. Look, hosts know about hosts. Right. They're not WordPress qualified. Now, they will help you with your PHP stuff because that is a host level thing, and they'll send you a knowledge base article of how to flip the switch or flip it for you. And when your site breaks because you've got these super old plugins and things, that's not their problem, but they're going to get blamed for it a lot. And I'm really sorry for the hit that hosts are going to take over all of this from ignorant site owners.
Wow, that's a good point. So I guess we all I think we're all really clear that that's a really, really critical thing that needs to be done right away. Now, is there anything else we need to say about speed?
Yes. Everything about speed. So there's two other things you need to do, you must do, that also impact your speed. One of them, of course, is HTTPS. So, and it's about securing the whole internet. Now, what the byproduct of that is, as we encrypt the connections between the host and your CDN to the browser, or CDN being something like Cloudflare, Content Delivery Network, or if you encrypt from your host straight to the visitor's browser, what it does is put a brown paper wrapper around the data as it travels. So we can't have any peeping Tom stuff going on. It doesn't make your site more secure, okay? But it's going to become a cloak and dagger game. It already is a cloak and dagger game, but the more that we lock out hackers, the more different ways they have to find to get in, okay? So HTTPS, I know a lot of people are using host trickery or plugin trickery. Your site's not actually converted to HTTPS. Right now, you have just a small window of time to get that redone before Chrome puts in this big warning of your site's not secure. That's going to happen in July. Okay. You've got a little window of time to undo all this trickery and get a real HTTPS conversion. I'm already helping people come out of that free trickery. Free is one of the most expensive things you can ever do. It's going to bite you in the butt later, and it already is. SSL certificates not renewing, all kinds of problems. And I'm helping people come back out of that freeway, and it's worth investing in to get it done right. That way, if you ever need to move host, you're not counting on host trickery either. You can pick up and go because your site is actually converted. All the links, everything in it is actually HTTPS. The other thing that does for speed is when you do this trickery stuff, every link you've got is redirected again. Okay, it's just redirecting it to HTTPS. And so that's going to be a speed issue plus a resource hog issue at your hosting. And for your analytics and seeing what's hitting on your site, you're going to have 2 hits on everything doing all of this trickery stuff. So there's another reason. But the nice thing about HTTPS is we get to take advantage of an 8-lane highway called HTTP2. So if you're on HTTP, think of it as a 2-lane highway and everything going in one direction is having to go in a serial fashion, one behind the other. That's how all your data is being delivered on HTTP. When you get up to HTTPS and it's secure, then you can take advantage of another highway that's only available to secured sites. And it's like an 8-lane highway going in one direction. Everything comes in parallel. You get a speed boost for doing that because more data can come in at once. Now, not all the online testers test on HTTP2. So you have to be careful about what speed testers you're using and make sure that you're getting accurate results for that. HTTP2 is something they're still building it. So in some places you get a 4-lane highway, some you get 6, and some you get 8. It depends on what it is and the traffic. I don't want to get too technical with it, but just know that over time, that's going to get faster and faster and faster. But until it does, we have to do some other speed tweaks. Okay. So HTTPS definitely is something you have to do no matter what. You really needed to get it done the right way, not the free trickery ways. And it helps your speed as well. So we'll stop there and I'll go on to the next about speed.
I was just going to say what questions or comments do others have about HTTPS and or speed? Yeah. I remember I've just switched my hosting from one service to another, but even before I switched, I went and paid for the HTTPS, and it was a bit of an exercise, but the host I have now provides that as part of the service. Yeah.
It's trickery, though. I almost guarantee you, if you go to the host, even if you pay people, you need to make sure, because I've seen people charging hundreds of dollars to put the really simple SSL plugin in it. It's not converted. So even if you pay for it, you need to make sure that it's done right. Another good test, because it's not just about converting the database links. That's easy, and some hosts offer that. But they're not going to get all the rest of the stuff, like the security header that Chrome requires to get on their preload safe site list. It's called HSTS. Chrome requires it. There are 5 security headers that you want to get. One of them is required by Chrome. The rest of them are going to be, as we go through this, that's why I mentioned that cloak and dagger thing. And more and more and more of this is going to start hitting HTTPS sites on your security headers. The security header is what the browser reads to ensure that it trusts that your site is actually encrypted. It comes down to the browser reading it. Browsers are in a little bit of flux too about what each one supports, always has been. Firefox supports this, Chrome supports that, IE supports this, Safari supports, That's always been the case with websites. But with this security stuff, they're all falling in line behind Chrome. Whatever Chrome does, everybody else copies. With Chrome's blessing, including this preload safe site list, Chrome makes that available to all other browsers to copy. So, because the whole point behind it is we want a safer internet. from all of this. So a good way for you to check is to put your link into securityheaders.io. See what your score is. It should be an A. There is one security header you cannot use if you're on WordPress. It's the X-frame. Can't use that one. But maybe someday WordPress will fix it so we can, because it's a good thing to have. But you should get all the others and your score should be an A. Most people are going to come up with a red fat F. And so there are a lot of things outside of uh, just having your database converted. Like your connections at Google, almost everybody is messing up their analytics because they're not changing both settings that need to be changed in analytics when you make this change to HTTPS. Also, for your Google Search Console, you're goofing it up because you need all 4 versions of your property verified in there, but you only want one sitemap, and you have to go update all the site setting preferences for your domain preferences and stuff. It's not just what they show in SERPs. This is considered your new canonical by Google. And so there's a lot to it besides just having your database converted. There are a lot of settings in these security headers and forced regex, seeing, you got to force everybody to go to HTTPS. So you need to see how many redirects it's going through, and if all of your caching and directives and everything are going all the way through that. I've seen people put themselves in redirect loops. I've seen 302 redirects instead of 301. I mean, even with the code that the host says you should use. I tested 14 of them, including every regex that every host I work with says use. 14 don't work. There are 13 of them don't work. So, there's a lot to it to make sure that's right. That's what I'm saying. I'm helping people back out of the free or cheap ways that they had things done and get everything done right. And it's, even if their database was converted, there's this whole other bunch of stuff. They're like, oh my God, I've been seeing the wrong analytics all this time. And it's like, yeah, and we got it fixed and it went through the roof. And they quit getting emails from Google Search Console saying, we're finding weird 404s everywhere and stuff. There's a lot to it, to having a full conversion.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Cheap and easy is
Yeah.
going to bite you.
Okay, Alana, I see you waving.
Well, I just did my site. I just scanned my site using securityheaders.com, and I am aghast to find out that my site has scored an F. So
that's probably the fastest way to check that none of the rest of the now, it's just one check, but your security headers are not there.
And it's on HTTPS, so this is a little confusing for me.
All your security headers are missing. HSTS is missing. That's the one that you have to have. But yeah, it's just a clue to me that there's some trickery involved probably elsewhere, or things that weren't done correctly. And I even have a service to do after HTTPS checks for this reason, to see what you've got, what you don't, because maybe they did convert the database and they just left out the extra off the host stuff, because this is outside the host, necessarily. Maybe they just left out all the rest of the stuff. So yeah, that's one of those services, that we go in and check and see what's going on. And there's some of them that I won't help people back out. I request that whoever did it back everything out, because honey, it's a bag of cats on a good day. You know what I'm saying? And so I have them, we do all of our prep. I've got a 6-page pre-checklist that we go through to make sure that we don't have any gotchas on day of conversion, that we don't Band-Aid over everything. And that's another cheat, is that you probably have mixed media or some issues on there. They're Band-Aided over. If you're using a plugin, have you ever seen a WordPress plugin that lasted forever?
No.
And you've got this super critical thing that you're relying on for a free plugin. I want you to think about that a minute. So have you ever been with a host forever? So you're going to be in a world of hurt the minute you come under duress and need to move. I don't mean to be a doomsday sayer. I'm telling you what I've seen every day. every day
Mhm.
with this guy. I see the underbelly. I'm kind of like, I don't know, I guess police and stuff really see the underbelly of society
Yeah.
every minute of every day.
Mhm.
I get to see the underbelly of the web all day. So I don't mean to be all doom and gloom. I'm just saying you're not going to get away with free, cheap, and easy on something that's highly technical and needs to be done properly.
That's a good point. So, let's see. I'm looking at my time. Oh my goodness, the time is
My
flying
time with
by here.
Gutenberg is really short. This is way more important.
Yeah.
I do have some things to say about Gutenberg, but just to
Yeah.
finish up with speed, the site audit, it there is no magic bullet for speed and free plugins. Just throwing free plugins at it and say it ain't gonna work. So, with speed, it is an SEO ranking factor, but that's not the point. The point is that everything is going to mobile. And as everybody, because Google makes it an SEO ranking factor, that makes more and more and more people jump on that bandwagon and spend the time and money it takes to get speed, right? Well, what's going to happen is all the sites that don't, visitors are going to become intolerant of slow sites. It's not whether you rank well in SEO. Some people don't even count on SEO for their traffic. And where it's not about that. It's that visitors are intolerant and the bounce rate's going to go through the roof of leaving a slow site. So your revenue is going to tank one way or the other. And it takes real testing to get ultimate speed. It's not going to happen over free plugins. The really big thing is that's not the big thing. The big thing is page weight. You're not going to push an elephant up a mountain anytime soon, quick. Yeah, it's not going to be quick. Well, instead of pushing a boulder, what if you could push a pebble? And it comes down to weight, and you have to take the weight off. So all this stuff that you've thrown at your site and whatever, I helped somebody clean out low-end, like you were saying. You've had a site a long time. I'm working with a client right now who's had a site for 10 years at 3 different hosts and has thrown every plugin in the world at it. When you delete a plugin, it leaves all these orphans in the database and files behind. When you change hosting environments, it leaves all kinds of directives behind. And in just cleaning out the junk, her site's already faster. Because if you think about what it takes to go through a messy closet and find something compared to one that has everything on the shelves and in the right places, it's the same thing, that it's got to go through all this junk to get what it wants and pull it back out. We haven't even gotten to the speed stuff. We're just cleaning it out and put security in there so that the bots aren't chewing up the resources that should be there for humans. She's already seen a speed increase just from that alone. And then we're going to go after all the speed stuff. And there's tons of low-hanging fruit, like plugins. Just swapping out for a different plugin or using an alternative. Radical difference in page weight, like the Pinterest and Instagram widgets. 55 requests that it brings in. And those little thumbnails it shows, no, honey, it's bringing in images this size. 55 of them or something. It's just insanity. Take that off, swap it out with something else, instant speed. So there's lots of low-hanging fruit that a site audit will catch.
Wow.
Yeah. Some of it's really cheap and easy. Don't overlook. You don't have to spend tons of money to get fast, but you do have to make some changes, with things. Lots of them are cheap and easy.
So while we're on the site audit topic, what do you charge for? Is there a standard amount for a site audit?
Yeah, it's $195. That comes with a 20 to 30 page report and a 2-hour non-geek speak live chat to go over it. Because what's really important, it's a major education in your site. Because not only do you want it cleaned up, you want to keep it that way. So it's not a here, MaAnna, it's a dump job. And I don't even take those hands-off site owners. I don't even take those clients at all. Non-geeks, yes. People who are willing to learn about their site, so that the next time you hear some guru says, hey, get this great plugin, you say, is that going to be a security issue or a performance issue? I mean, it makes you think. And then you take better care of your site, and you keep it fast, and you keep it secure, and you keep it clean, and you have confidence because you know what you're doing. You know it's backed up. right? You know it can be
Mm-hmm.
restored. You know it's not going to get hacked. You know more about the plugins and what they do. It's an amazing education
Yes.
too. So it's not just a bunch of, now the fixes are extra because every site is different, but like
Yes.
fully securing a site takes me maybe 30 minutes. And no, there are no plugins. We do it at the root level.
Mm.
There are no behemoth plugins. And that's, matter of fact, those things give you a false sense of security and are chewing up your resources. They don't
Yeah.
even work. Half of them don't even work. And I can't even tell you publicly
Which
about what a
ones?
couple of them do because
Yeah.
they have threatened me
Mm-hmm. I
for
I would guess
exposing that
that.
kind of stuff. And
Yeah.
so I've just, hey, if hackers want you, they're going to get you. So I had to shut up.
Mm-hmm.
But that's why you can't hear me talk about it. But I'll tell you privately what's
Yeah.
going on and what not to do and whatever.
Right.
But that's what the site audit's all about. You're not only does it look at the security, but it looks at all that mess in the
Mm-hmm.
back. Most
Mm-hmm.
of it's done at the hosting level. I don't even have to look at your site. I do have to log in for a minute, but most of it's not there. This is not stuff you can see within your site.
No. No.
We cover everything in it. And then fixes are extra because everybody has, some people it takes about an hour, some people it takes 3 months. I kid you not.
Wow.
Because
Right.
for all that mess stuff, they don't necessarily know what some of that is, so we have to rename it and then wait a couple of days to see if we can find anything that breaks.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes it, I
Mm-hmm.
only work 15 minutes, but it makes it take longer.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Mm.
it just depends. But it sets you up very well to do the HTTPS conversion because it's already clean, everything's known, and
Mm.
whatever. And that 6-page checklist is more than halfway done.
Mm.
So it's a fantastic investment anytime we have something come up, or like speed, this ultimate speed, which is a whole other level of service.
Yeah.
I mean, we're going to get you faster no matter what, but there's another level of it that requires more testing. But it sets you up for any change that's ever going to happen. Sets you up for Gutenberg, sets you up for anything that's ever going to happen. It's a fantastic investment.
Mm. Wow. We're worthy of some careful thought. So,
Yeah.
but we've got about 10 minutes now to kind of talk a little bit about Gutenberg and last week Alana shared with the fact that she signed up for one of the Divi or whatever you call it, and Divi, and then discovered that this whole Gutenberg thing was going to happen and was kind of not very happy about that. So,
Oh, Divi will still be there. Divi will still be there through this. All the page builders probably will because they know if they don't, they're dead. I mean, that's all there is to it. They become Gutenberg compliant or they're gone. That's the end of it. So Divi will probably still be around, but the problem with Divi is it's short code based. You're locked into it. It's hard to come out of that and do something else. And it's bulk. It's a speed hog. I mean, it just kills your site for speed. Plus, it lacks a lot of SEO. That's the reason I like Genesis so much. It's super clean code, but it has the SEO, the schema markup built in from the top down. It's a hierarchy. You can't throw a plugin in like a recipe plugin and get schema markup. Think of it like a staircase. It
mm-hmm.
needs to be top down, and the theme has to support it. You throw in a recipe plugin that's got lots of schema, you're kind of getting in the middle of the staircase, and you don't have the
Mm-hmm.
higher end of it.
Mm-hmm.
The top level of the stairs. Or the foundation of it to begin with. So, yeah, Divi I would imagine they see the writing on the wall. Thrive, all of them, I'm sure they see the writing on the wall, but I've never been a big fan of page builders at all anyway. Simply
So
because
I think Jay was kind of waving that he wanted to
I'm
add
just
something.
sitting on my hands here.
Am I getting an amen, brother?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Preaching.
Yeah.
I've been saying since day one, page builders they're just, it's like buying an HP laptop that comes with a plethora of bloatware that slows your site upon inception. I mean, these things like from Beaver Builder, Thrive, Divi, and I've always said that I don't like Divi just because it's got so much stuff in it, and it's just, it, like you said, it locks you in, and Alana was mentioning that that Divi had sent an email saying, hey, you know, get a lifetime subscription for
Yeah.
X amount of dollars, right? And this is, you know, as you said, the writing on the wall. So they're trying to lock people in so that they're essentially committed or stuck with short codes and working with these things. But
Well, yeah, I mean, Jay, I understand your point, but they do have their place in the WordPress ecosystem.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
Mainly
absolutely.
for newer site owners. I don't have a single money making client that would ever think about building their own website,
Yeah, yeah,
period, their own
yeah.
theme. They're all focused on the money making stuff, and building your own theme ain't it.
No.
Plus, you know, you miss a lot of stuff with UX, user experience. That's
Mhm.
going to become an SEO ranking factor. It already is an SEO ranking factor. ADA compliance, Americans with Disability Acts, this privacy stuff, you know, the things that are being rolled in. It's a specialty knowledge. And just like security, you're going to have to pay somebody who knows what they're doing about it. It's not all just about looks. There's a reason things are laid out the way they are, why the code is like it is. And you're just not going to know that. I mean, what if you had to build a car from scratch? I wouldn't drive it. You know, I mean, come on. You know, how long is it going to take you to build one that's actually going to last and get you down the road and blah, blah, blah? And what do you have to know to be able to do that? And for some reason, people think, oh, yeah, even if you get a kit, how are you going to know what to do, you know, and stuff. So, but people think, no, it's just, you know, they've been taken in by this website tonight, don't have to know code, whatever.
Mhm.
And it is what it is. It has its place. I mean, it's a millions of dollars industry. It has a place. And then when people graduate from that, they come up into why to do something else another way. But it
Yeah,
got them started. It gave them a low barrier to entry. And it's fine that it locks them in. You know, Headway and Thesis both died way before
hmm
Gutenberg ever was a
yeah.
twinkle in
I love it.
anybody's eye. I mean, it
Yeah, that
doesn't
was a
take
great
that
thing.
to kill this kind of stuff off.
Yeah.
And so I think all of them are going to be keeping up. But just in the minute or two that we've got left, I want to go back to Gutenberg. Okay, so this I was at WordCamp with this past year and seeing this, and it wasn't so much um, Matt Mullenweg's presentation as the day before, the one before, the lights went off. I see Gutenberg. Why? We're going to go through this. It is a complete game changer because it's not just Gutenberg, guys. And this is me calling it Web 3.0. What we see websites on a screen ain't going to be that way anymore. I mean, it's the web is going to change so radically in the next few years. We won't even recognize what we're doing with it now. Just like the revolution that cell phones brought with what we do on a phone now and what we do with computers, nobody could have thought about that 10 years prior to it happening. And the web is going to completely change. And it'll be where we don't have screens at all. I mean, literally from our watch projected up into the air on a wall, whatever it is, we won't be dealing with screens. And that's why everything needs to come into a block because it's going to be, okay, I want my navigation here. I want my content there. I want the sidebar here. I decide. I don't care what site I go to. I decide where I want my blocks. And that's why it's got to become independent of layout. Designers, I mean, it's not just themes. Designers have to completely change their whole design for a screen. And we thought it was bad when we had a lot of different screen sizes to go for. Now you have no screen. You have free for all. And what I mean, design, they're all going to have to go back to school. Gutenberg is this is our first step going into a text editor and trying to get people okay with blocks and how to put content in blocks to start thinking modular, and then it's going to explode and all break apart and come off the screen completely. So, or be totally customized. So the internet as we know it now, the way it looks, the way we interact with it and stuff, my eyes are open. It's like, oh, I cannot wait to get to this. You know, it's gonna be a
Yeah.
real. It's like
Yeah.
seeing Star Trek and saying, I want that life. I want that.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a hard, bumpy road getting there, and we have to start somewhere. So we've got Gutenberg coming into the core in 5.0. sometime this year. We don't know what they said. April. That ain't going to happen. We don't know when. Forget about it. Forget about Gutenberg. Act like it ain't even there. What we're going to do instead is it's just coming into the text editor. Okay, that's the first step. What we're going to do instead is use either the classic text editor plugin, which is already out and gives you just exactly what you've got now, or I like tinymce Advanced. And Andrew Oz is the developer, and he has been in the middle of everything that goes on with WordPress core for tinymce, or the current text editor we've got since ever. Okay, and he makes a plugin called tinymce Advanced. I love it because it writes good code, which has been the bane of the WordPress text editor the entire time anyway. He's going to keep up with that.
Can tiny N as in Nancy?
M.
Oh,
Mike.
M.
MCE. Some people call it Tiny Mice. tinymce is the text editor we're using in WordPress now.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And Gutenberg is going to take its place as a text editor.
Yeah.
Gutenberg's going to keep going, but the first part of it's a text editor.
I got it.
So there'll be a plugin called tinymce or Classic Text Editor, and that will give you the text editor you currently have now. Or a plugin called tinymce Advanced, which is the one I currently use now. And I've got a video. Just look up Blogate and tinymce Advanced, and you'll find YouTube videos on it. Because it writes better code. Because look, that's what you're doing. It's not a word processor. You're writing code for a browser to read, and it does a better job of it. But Andrew has told us he's going to keep up with it in tinymce Advanced too, and we're going to go on like nothing happened. Gutenberg's in the core, so more developers and plugins and whatever can work with it. But that's the rub. Our themes are not Gutenberg compliant. Our plugins are not Gutenberg compliant. We don't want to use Gutenberg until more of that is compliant, especially your theme. But if you count on plugins for functionality and whatever, and they're not compliant, you're going to have to don't go down that messy road. Let them build the road first. And that's why I said at the beginning, Gutenberg is a 2020 thing. Okay.
I get what you're saying now, because it sort of conflicted with what I've read, but I now understand why you said that. Yeah.
Right. Now we're going to have Gutenberg compliant themes in 2019. We'll have them this year. We'll have them in 2018. We have some that are almost all ready to go now, but that's it. Not your plugins. Things don't have a lot of variations. There's going to be bugs and tweaks. Just don't go down the road yet. Don't worry about it. Let it be in the core. Let somebody be building the new Emerald City for us. You don't have to go down the yellow brick road yet. What you do need to do is keep up with what major changes come, because plugin devs may say, we're all going to go Gutenberg today, and this thing may take off a lot faster once it gets in the core. And that's the whole point. When they have that base in the core. It may zoom. I know Genesis is keeping up with it. Divi's going to have to. Thrive is going to have to. So don't worry about it just yet. You may be able to stick with what you've got. The other things you need to think about with sticking with what you've got is the speed. We don't know what's going to happen when they go Gutenberg compliant. I doubt the bulk will come out. I doubt that we'll have a speed thing, speed improvement in it. There's nothing about Gutenberg that's going to be a speed improvement. So, not today anyway. But I'm just saying, settle down from the hoo-ha, learn how to just keep going the way you are. And then when we start getting to those tipping points of, okay, let's think about doing Gutenberg, then we'll set up sandbox sites somewhere so that we can test it, see how things are going to work, make sure our plugins work. Nobody's going to switch to Gutenberg. It's going to be a lot of testing and whatever before we do. So I'm seeing 2019, definitely maybe a year from now, before we're even ready to think about that. If you have now if you have a super simple theme that's supposed to, you have 5 plugins or whatever, sure, go ahead. But most of us that are making money have a lot more complexity than that. I'm seeing a year from now, maybe toward 2020, before we're ready to switch. I don't know, it could go faster, but that's my take care of your security, your speed, and HTTPS done right. That's what you need to worry about. Don't freak out about Gutenberg yet. Follow me on Tips Tuesday on Blogade because I keep you
Right.
informed every week, and to keep up with what you need to put on your plate today. And Gutenberg ain't it.
Oh, that's a really good closing message.
And when 5.0 comes out, don't be the first to update.
Okay.
I know we're just about out of time, but I was wondering if I could just grab the conch for a second.
Go for it, Bill.
A couple of observations today. First of all, you heard it here first. Jay officially announced that dilithium crystals are replacing the flux capacitor. But seriously, I wanted to share a comment that I'm going to put in the thing. I don't know if you can see it, but I've been following MaAnna's Blogade for quite a while, and MaAnna tells it how it is in language that I can understand. You owe it to follow yourself at, and her website is there, and I'm putting that up there for the people that may not be in the BCP, but just watching in replay. And I hope that's the correct link.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you for doing that, Bill.
But the last thing I wanted to say, and it's something I've said on this show before, and this may not be fact, it may just be my opinion, but I'm one of those people who had a WordPress site. I never had the time, the inclination, or the prerequisite training to go and learn all of the back-end stuff of WordPress. However, that being said, we are the bosses of our site, and we need to know what the issues are so we can ask the proper questions. And I can tell you that MaAnna's Blogade has been a wonderful resource for me because she does that. She tells it how it is. She doesn't try to cover anything up. And, she will alert you to the questions that you need to ask. So thank you for your presentation today, MaAnna. And I think everybody owes it to themselves to follow Blogade if you're a DIY WordPresser. I mean, I did a little test with MaAnna a few months ago on comment plugins. And I was surprised to find out little things that, like, if I don't like a plugin and I delete it, I ain't done. I mean, she was talking about plugins where you had to go 4, 5 layers deep. So a lot of us like to say, yes, we run our own site. Yes, we manage our own site. But to what extent we're actually doing it properly, that's a whole other question. So thanks again, MaAnna. I'm going to put your link in the BCP plugin so people can find it and follow you. And at the end of the show, if there's some other links that you would like to share, please do that, and we'll make sure they get into the BCP plugin as well.
Thank you for that, Bill. Appreciate that. Any other parting comments before I ask everyone to mute themselves so I can move on to the outro? Alana.
I would just like to say thank you, MaAnna, for your presentation today, and I'd really love to have you back. I'd love to hear more. I'm starving for this kind of stuff, so I would love to see you come back.
Yeah, I think that'd be great where you can ask more questions, do a free pick my brain session.
Oh,
Yeah,
whatever you
I'm
wanna
gonna check
talk
out your
about.
Blogade, and I would love to hear more.
Well, MaAnna, that sounds like it would be a really fun thing to do. Just I invite you and pick your brain. If you're willing, I'm willing.
Yeah, anything, just open it up to whatever you want. And if I don't know, I'll tell you. I don't know. But
Right.
if I do, I will answer it to the best of my ability. But
Right.
yeah, that's fine. I'll be happy to do it.
Right on.
Yeah, that's great, because I actually have some questions, but I know we're out of time, so maybe another time.
Okay, thank you, Alana. Anyone else before I remind everyone that it's important to do what you love with passion?